back, everyone, to yet another episode of the Law series here on Dark Matters, and Dark Matters indeed. The truth is stranger than fiction. It was Jesus who said, quote, "Whoever searches must continue to search until they find, and when they find, they will be disturbed. And being disturbed, they will marvel, and then they will learn to reign over all." So today we welcome back the last blue boar of England, aka Mr. Blue, to dismantle the devil in the detail, to expose what Romilly Stewart before him described as the perfect fraud, the Quasi Trust, the Corpus Juris, the law of the sea, or the unholy sea, as I say, converting the standing of living flesh and blood men and women to persons for financial gain, stealing the dominion of man and converting it into profit for the administrator, the serpent, the usurper, the system of usury, the snake in the garden, as above, so below. Fraud after fraud after fraud by failure to disclose legal standing to every victim into kidnap, de facto governments, de facto courts, fictional corporations, dead entities utilising the cognomen, the surname, the surety, the bond. The successful execution of the perfect fraud that siphons the mineral and energy wealth of the public from the office of creditor into the office of administrator through the fictional, deceptive Quasi Trust by a private corporation passing itself off as government. Expose the lies and see the truth. This knowledge and how to apply it finishes the game. And we shall finish the game, my friends. We shall finish the game. Mr. Blue, are you there?
I am, my sweet. How are you this wonderful day?
I'm very well. I'm very excited for our chat because I believe it's going to be yet another huge revelation. So, one of my long-winded intros later, but hopefully that has set the scene for what we're about to deep dive, delve, and reveal the deceit of. Yeah, you've obviously been working very tirelessly behind the scenes as you always do, and we're here to join the dots for everybody yet again, aren't we? So, over to you, really, and we'll kind of go with the flow and put up the documents as we go.
Lovely. As last time, we exposed the police have been a private corporation, and they now state they're not a private corporation. They're still a public entity. They're not. We all know that's a lie. We've seen the evidence. We've seen the paperwork. They are working for a corporate parliament, and they're no longer. None of the officials are in public office. None of them. And we can expose that at another one. This is not why we're here today. We're here today because of a document I've had in my possession now for a year, and some other documents that have come to light which shows the corruption and how long it's been going on. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, because you've got a lovelier speaking voice than me, and I'm sure your listeners would love much more to listen to you than me.
Not sure about
And
that.
you'll be, I'm sure they will. But I'm going to ask you to pull up the first document.
Okay, let's do it. I'll just do my share screen and get it out and up. So we're going to do the first one. Let me just make sure it's up before I do that. Yeah, bear with
Because
me.
as your listeners know, and I hope they appreciate, I don't just come in here and spout a load of nonsense. We're out backing the proof in the pudding.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mr. Blue. So, Terry, okay. So the Kill Me or Letter, a damning critique over UK, and we use the term UK as a corporation, as we know, illegal
Yep,
entry to the European Union, isn't it?
it is. So if we scroll down,
Mhm.
and what I want you to do is, because I can't really see this now,
Yes.
right? So what I would like you to do is start reading in answer to your request by Edward Heath. But I also want you to take one precious note of this. It's the date, which is 1960.
Right.
Okay. Now, this is alluding from 1960. When did we actually join the EEC?
Well, I know it wasn't 1960.
It was the 1st of January 1973, and it's in this document. But
Yeah.
there's two key dates that I want your listeners to appreciate, right? And again, I've shown them on my last document with you. If not, we'll show them again. But In 1971, there was a factor that came in, which was the Nixon shock, where they removed all lawful money because it was gold backed. Yeah, we all remember that, or we've all seen the history of that. 1972, this deal was actually signed in 1972. It actually became official the 1st of January 1973. Okay? That's what I want your listeners to understand. This has been going on 13 years before we actually joined the EEC. And for the build-up to joining to the EEC, this is why they took us out of lawful money, because they couldn't use lawful money. This is why they signed this in 72, and it came legal, because that's when they changed the wording from lawful to legal, right? Which means fiction. Okay? Now, what we'd like to do is just, and most people won't have seen this because they keep burying it and burying it and burying it. It keeps coming back to life and coming back to life. And people don't quite understand what it means because there's a few words in here that, unless you look them up, you won't know what they mean because they're lawful words. And it means it's a broad, by using one word, it is a broader scope of that word, if that makes sense to everybody. So it's like saying fraud, but there's more than one kind of fraud. Yeah. So that's what I want to just get through to people. So if we start in answer to your request by Edward Heath, MP, he was only an MP at this time. And it states there on 30th of November, 1960. Okay?
Yeah.
And who it's by. This is the most important thing. It's who it's by. Okay? Yeah. And it's Lord Chancellor, Lord Kilmore. Now, this guy, we owe everything to. And I can't stress that enough. And his family. Because he made this an open public letter.
Yeah.
Which means it should never have been hidden.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can go from there, my little sweetheart, that would be lovely because obviously I'm squinting at this now.
My dulcet Bolton tones. Here we go. Okay. So in answer to a request by Edward Heath, MP, on 30th of November 1960, the Lord Chancellor, Lord Kilmore, replied, making it clear that there were serious problems with the limitations imposed by English constitutional and common law on Britain's joining the then EEC. Lord Kilmore mentions ways in which the Constitution will conflict with Heath's plans, but he also indicates ways of subverting that conflict. The additional comments inserted below in bold show very clearly that the Heath government was fully prepared to commit acts of sedition and treason in order to take the UK into the EEC. Unfortunately, we do not have a copy of Heath's original letter to Lord Kilmore. Shall I carry on?
Yeah, well, that's important because obviously Edward Heath's letter was obviously marked top secret, and it was marked top secret for a reason. And as Lord Kilmore cleverly answered this letter in rather a full and graphic details and way that he was hoping would help us bring Parliament back under our control. But his letter was buried. It was held for 30 years, longer, right? And that is treason, especially what they've done in this letter. So if we read on, that'd be great.
Not a problem. My dear Ted, you wrote to me on the 30th of November about the constitutional implications of our becoming a party to the Treaty of Rome. I have now had an opportunity of considering what you say in your letter and have studied the memoranda you sent to me. I agree with you that there are important constitutional issues involved. I have no doubt that if we do sign the treaty, we shall suffer some loss of sovereignty. But before attempting to define or evaluate the loss, I wish to make one general observation. At the end of the day, the issue whether or not to join the European Economic Community must be decided on broad political grounds. And if it appears from what follows in this letter that I find the constitutional objections serious, that does not mean that I consider them conclusive. I do, however, think that it is important that we should appreciate clearly from the outset exactly what, from the constitutional point of view, is involved if we sign the treaty. And it is with that consideration in mind that I have addressed myself to the questions you have raised.
If we can stop there, sweetheart, just leave that up. If you can just
Yeah.
scroll it back down to the first paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this little bit here, he goes on and he literally says, I agree with you, there are important constitutional issues involved. So Edward Heath had already looked at this
Yeah.
and realised there were serious implications for him, any Parliament office or officers, public officers that went forward with this.
Yeah.
Now, you've got to understand that Lord Kilmore was the highest ranking official in the judiciary at this time. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as he points out, and this is what Lord Kilmore's very good at, and the subtleties within this letter are astounding. He confirms that there are serious drawbacks by our sovereignty, because it's our sovereignty, it's not theirs. Two, it is our constitution, not theirs, right? So if we carry on, so you've just got to understand that from the outset, Edward Heath knew in 1960, there were serious, massive issues, and he wanted to know whether he'd read the understanding of his constitution, of our constitution, correctly. And this is all this is a point of. So if you carry on, sweetheart, that's great.
It is clear that if we do sign the agreement with the EEC, we will suffer some loss of sovereignty. This is a very clear act of treason because our constitution expressly forbids any such surrender of any part of our constitution to a foreign power beyond the control of the Queen in Parliament. This is evidenced by the convention, which states, Parliament may do things, but what it may not do is surrender any of its rights to govern unless we have been defeated in a war. The
Very
ruling.
clear.
Do you want me to carry on? Yeah.
Yeah, please.
The ruling given to King Edward III in 1366, in which he was told that King John's action in surrendering England to the Pope and ruling England as a vassal king to Rome was illegal because England did not belong to John. Exactly. He held it only in trust for those who follow him, and by the law of kingship, he must pass it on to his successors in the state in which he received it. In any case, the money that the Pope was demanding as tribute was not to be paid because England's kings were not vassal kings to the Pope, nor was the money legitimately owed.
So you can see that this has all started where the Pope wanted to take over England. It's as simple as that. And
Yeah.
this is why the barons kicked off in 1215. This is what brought about the Magna Charta.
Mm-hmm.
The great liberty, Charter of Liberty. Now, when we talk about this document and the Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights is only an extension of our Magna Charta. Right? Now, this is what Parliament have done. They've removed our Magna Charta, or they believe they've removed it, because they've made it irrelevant, but it's not irrelevant. It is never theirs and was never theirs to remove. It's still in force, and they cannot remove it. Simple as that. It is part of our constitutional rights.
Yeah.
And this is what basically Lord Kilmore now states.
Yeah.
Because John could not do what he did, and this is why he set up the Magna Charta. And then King Edward was told by the laws, again, 1366, I know it's a long time ago, but this is what makes our laws today.
Yeah.
This is what keeps them on the straight and narrow. Or supposed to do. right? I'll rephrase that, and supposed to do. So we've now gone back in 1960 to
Yeah,
1366
yeah, yeah,
and to 1215,
yeah.
right? So why is it not relevant today? Because Parliament, well, we'll find out, and this is what they've done. This is the attack on me and you.
Yeah.
So if you carry on,
And then this is that Justinian deception again, isn't it? As they perfected the name system, the two name system of the nomen and the cognomen, the first name and the
surname,
surname,
yeah.
and they perfected that in 1230 AD, according to our Romilly Stewart. But I'll link that video. It's a really interesting watch for people below. Anyway, back to it. So, adherence to the Treaty of Rome would, in my opinion, affect our sovereignty in three ways. A. Parliament would be required to surrender some of its functions to the organs of the community. B. The Crown would be called on to transfer part of its treaty-making power to those organs of the community. The English Constitution confers treaty-making powers only on the sovereign. The sovereign cannot transfer those powers to a foreign power, not even to our own parliament, because they are mere servants of the monarch. Sovereignty itself cannot be given away as it resides with the people who entrust it to the monarch for his/her lifetime, and the monarch is obliged by law to pass that sovereignty on to any successor as it was received. C. Our courts of
Whoa,
law
whoa,
would
whoa, whoa, whoa,
oh,
whoa, whoa. Don't, you've flown straight past it.
oh, go on.
You've flown straight past it. Read
I
those
think.
two things again, because it tells you there who we are,
Oh,
and
sorry.
it tells you what Parliament is in 1960.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it because Parliament isn't sovereign, is it? It's
Yeah,
it's a fiction in itself. Only the people can be sovereign.
right. But if you read it again, he explains it absolutely to perfection of
Yeah,
what Parliament is and what we are and what the Queen is. Because the
yeah,
Queen's an office, the King's an office. It's an office of the people.
yeah,
They are
yeah,
chief trustees of our sovereignty,
yeah, yeah.
and they can't use our sovereignty in any other way than what is for us, for the
Yeah.
betterment of us. If
The
they
benefit.
do, they can be removed.
Yeah. Or in trust terms, the we are the beneficiaries and the creditors
Yeah.
of which
So
they
if you
swap
read that
our
section
position.
again, just for your listeners, just so that they understand it, because, like I said, I shared this the other night with a group of about 45, 50 people, and it went straight over their heads as well. And most people listening to this will not grasp it.
Yeah. Well, and it's important to grasp because it's like
Yeah,
pulling the proverbial thread, isn't it? It brings everything
yeah.
else down ultimately, doesn't it? Right. Okay.
Correct. It's basically it corrects the state of what they are and what we are.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And they're using these kind of quasi trust positions to take hold of our mineral wealth, etc., and so on and so forth. And I've been doing for a very long time. Um, so the English Constitution confers treaty making powers only on the sovereign. The sovereign cannot transfer those powers to a foreign power, nor even to our own parliament, because they are mere servants of the monarch.
Right.
Sovereignty
If we
is,
stop it there,
yeah,
if you understand what that means is, right,
yeah,
there can be no delegation of a power or authority, right?
yeah,
Parliament can't delegate it. If the Queen can't delegate it, nobody can delegate authority. Nobody can delegate the power,
yeah,
right? It states there as fact. I think we all get that bit, right? So there's no delegation of power at all.
yeah,
Because that'll be important later on. So
yeah.
I just want you to all, everybody to keep that in mind. If we can carry on, Spags, that'll be great.
Okay, sorry, I've just got something in my eye. Sovereignty itself cannot be given away as it resides with the people who entrust it to the monarch, there's that word trust, for his/her lifetime, and the monarch is obliged by law to pass that sovereignty on to any successor as it was received.
And there we go again. Any successor. It doesn't have to be a member. It's our choice. It's the people's choice.
Yeah, yeah,
It's we decide who's going to sit in the king's office because it's a
yes,
public office. The
yeah,
office of king is public. He is
yeah,
a public servant, nothing more. He is
And
there to hold our sovereignty
yeah,
and to ensure that we are not taken advantage of as we are today.
yeah, yeah. And obviously, the royal family, the Saxe Coburg Gothers, have just hijacked these positions anyway. They wouldn't
Yeah,
be the real kings and
they were
queens of.
put in by the. We all know they were put in by the banks. I mean, it's the money men, the tradesmen, shall we say? And it wasn't of yesteryear. It wasn't the fact that we classed tradesmen today. It was the money men. They were the traders.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it goes deep, as people know on
Yeah,
my channel. The deception
but
is deep.
yeah,
But
but we
let's,
don't want to go that deep because I want to try and keep this as light as I can
yeah, yeah.
and as
Let's,
straightforward as we can. So now we've got them. Right, here we go again. And this is the most important bit after this. Our
okay.
courts of law will sacrifice some degree of independence. Now, there's that word, independence. Now, the courts of law are supposed to be independent from Parliament,
Yeah,
from the King,
yeah,
and be able to reign by the rigidity of law.
yeah.
They can't flip flop.
Separation of,
They can't change jurisdiction or state as they are doing today.
yeah,
So that are supposed to be independent. They're no longer independent. No longer independent. By becoming subservient in certain respects to the European Court of Justice.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Only
yeah.
if they knew how deep we were going into. But let's carry on if you can, Macduff.
It is a prémunire, I'm not sure if I've said that correct, to allow any case to be taken to a foreign court not under the control of the sovereign. The European Court of Justice or the European Court of Human Rights are foreign courts not under the control of our sovereign. Prémunire is a crime akin to treason. If I've said that incorrect, I do apologise, but that's the best I could do at short
The
notice.
same as me. That's why now you know why I got you to say it. But the main point there is what it means. It is treason,
Yeah,
right? By giving our authority away
yeah,
to any European court is an act of treason.
yeah,
So by signing the Treaty of Rome in 73, going
yeah,
into the EEC, they committed treason
yeah,
and they
yeah.
surrendered our sovereignty without permission. Fraud. Boom. Let's carry on.
Okay. Um, Okay, where was I up to? Oh, it is a praemunire to allow any laws or regulations not made by the sovereign in Parliament to take effect as law in England. This is illegal under the 1351 Treason Act. Also, the 1351 Act of Praemunire which was brought in by King Edward III because he believed it an affront to his honour and dignity as King of England to have laws imposed upon his kingdom by a foreign power. Makes sense. It was illegal that any of his subjects be taken out of England to be tried in a foreign court or for his bishops to excommunicate any of his subjects on the orders of the Pope. Rome. It is a further praemunire to allow foreign laws to affect England, as this is entirely contrary to the Act of Praemunire 1392, the Act of Supremacy 1559, the Declaration and Bill of Rights 1688/9, and the Treason Felony Act 1848.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. It's there in black and white. By signing that Treaty of Rome, how many treasons?
Quite a lot of
Five.
treason.
Five different types of treason, and they knew it.
And there ain't
Every
no
parliament
treason but
since,
treason.
every parliament since knew it
Yeah,
because they buried it for 30 years, and then when they had to release it in 2002, they removed the sovereignty from Buckingham Palace,
yeah.
right? And there you go, because they knew they'd got caught.
Well, then they did, didn't they? Was it kind of pre the first lockdown? They did take down all,
2002, they said that
put the crest down and everything, didn't they?
the crest got damaged, so they'd have to take it down.
Damaged.
Yeah, yeah. No, they had to take it down by law. It wasn't
Yeah,
there to hold. They did not hold our sovereignty anymore
no,
because,
exactly.
as it states there, you can only be king if
Yeah.
you own. Sorry about that, guys. Somebody's just dropped a parcel off at the door. If you, hey, shut up, you rat. If you hold the sovereignty of the people, you can
Yeah.
only be king then or queen,
Yeah. And
right?
as we, yeah, old sausage, and we're going to get onto why Yieldy
Yep,
sausage thing is nay king, but to come.
yep.
Okay.
But there you go. So now that the queen's in 5 acts of treason,
Hmm.
because she's allowed this. So
Yeah.
that ends the lineage of the Windsors, aka, the German name, right? It ends it.
Yeah.
Ends the title of head of state.
Yeah.
No
Of,
longer queen.
yeah. Of course. An estate is a condition in a contract.
Correct. And it's
Boom.
also the chief trustee. She was the chief trustee, as it states in this document,
Yeah.
to hold our sovereignty. Therefore, she breaches trust law.
And the breach of trust law is one of the highest breaches of law. So, as administrator, they're constantly tricking us into the position of debtor so that they can siphon all our wealth from our estates. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
the
if we carry on a little bit more,
let's. So, Parliament could legislate ad hoc on each occasion that the Council make regulations requiring action by us. The difficulty would be that since Parliament can bind neither itself nor its successors, we could only comply with our obligations under the treaty if Parliament abandoned its right of passing independent judgment on the I can never say that, legislative proposals put before it. A parallel to the position of Britain in the EU would be, for instance, the Constitutional Convention, whereby Parliament passed British North American bills without question at the request of the Parliament of Canada. In this respect, Parliament here would have, in substance, if not in form, abdicated its sovereign position, and it would have pro tanto to do the same for the community. No such
so
power
that,
exists.
hang on a minute, hang on, Spad. So there you go. So that's how they removed the money. So
Right,
our
yeah.
money, it tells you there. It's not English money anymore,
No.
right? They've gone through the North American bill.
Yeah. Just fictional de facto shite again, isn't it,
Fiat
basically?
currency. Fiat
Yeah.
currency, worthless.
Yeah. Yeah. Shall I continue?
Yeah, go on, mate.
No such power exists for Parliament to do this. This would be an act of treason under the 1351 Treason Act, a praemunire under the 1351 and 1392 Act of Praemunire. Somebody will be wincing at this, doesn't it? I don't know how you say it, Carly. An act of treason under the 1559 Act of Supremacy, the 1688/9 Declaration and Bill of Rights, and the Treason Felony Act 1848. It would, in theory, be possible for Parliament to enact the outset legislation which would give automatic force of law to any existing or future regulations made by the appropriate organs of the community. For Parliament to do this would go far beyond the most extensive delegation of powers, even in wartime, that we have ever experienced, and I do not think there is any likelihood of this being acceptable to the House of Commons. Which course were adopted, Parliament would retain, in theory, the liberty to repeal the relevant act or acts, but I would agree with you that we must act on the assumption that entry into the community would be I can never say that word, irrevocable. We should therefore have to accept a position where Parliament had no more power to repeal its own enactments than it has in practice to abrogate the Statute of Westminster. In short, Parliament would have to transfer to the Council or other appropriate organ of the community its substantive powers of legislating over the whole of a very important field.
So there you go. So Parliament has no authority. The councils don't have any authority.
Yeah,
Nobody has any authority now.
no,
They say, "Oh well, we'll put it into the community." Who remembers this? What they promised? Oh yeah, we're gonna give the councils more power now. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that for the council. We're gonna give you more power.
yeah,
How can they give you something that they don't have?
you don't have in the first place. Yeah, yeah,
No man can give more than he has,
yeah,
and they don't have it. And how can they delegate power when you can't delegate it. He's already stated it earlier on in this document.
Yeah.
Parliament cannot delegate power. It's not theirs to delegate.
Yeah. And therefore, hence an act of treason
Therefore, hence an act of treason. If you
against
read
the
on, we read on again.
regarding treaty making powers. The proposition that every treaty entered into by the United Kingdom does to some extent fetter our freedom of action is plainly true. Some treaties, such as GATT and the OEEC, restrict severely our liberty to make agreements with third parties, and I should not regard it as detrimental to our sovereignty that, by signing the Treaty of Rome, we undertook not to make tariff or trade agreements without the Council's approval, but to transfer to the Council or the Commission the power to make such treaties on our behalf, and even against our will, is an entirely different proposition. There seems to me to be a clear distinction between the exercise of the sovereignty involved in the conscious acceptance by us of obligations under treaty-making powers and the total or partial surrender of sovereignty involved in our cession of these powers to some other body. To confer a sovereign state treaty-making powers on an international organisation is the first step on the road which leads by way of confederation to the fully federal state. I do not suggest that what is involved would necessarily carry us very far in this direction, but it would be a most significant step and one for which there is no precedent in our case. Moreover, a further surrender of sovereignty of parliamentary supremacy would necessarily be involved. As you know, treaty-making power is vested in the Crown. Parliamentary sanction is required for any treaty which involves a change in the law or the imposition of taxation, to take two examples, and we cannot ratify such a treaty unless Parliament consents. But if the binding treaties are to be entered into on our behalf, Parliament must surrender this function and either resign itself to becoming a rubber stamp or give the community, in effect, the power to amend our domestic laws.
And that's exactly what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
They've now got no authority over us. They've surrendered all their authority to Parliament and the Council of Europe. It's not our local councils, it's the Council of Europe. It's the Community of Europe.
Yeah.
So we've now got no authority over ourselves. None.
Yeah.
This is a complete surrender of our sovereignty. A clear act of treason under, and off we go again, all the treason acts we've already mentioned 5 times, under different scenarios.
Yeah.
So he's made it very clear that any scenario that they think they can subvert our constitutional rights is treason. It's not only just treason in one go, it's 5 lots of treason.
Yeah. Here's some treason, some more treason, and I'll meet you with some more treason.
Exactly. So whatever you think you can do, you can't, because you don't have the power. What did he state that Parliament was? Merely servants.
Yeah. And that's what they should be, public servants.
Correct.
But they have
Independence of
did that, and it's the
they're not.
general,
Yeah,
don't
they're
they?
just not. They're not servants anymore. They have now conformed us into, and what does it say in that little statement there? Obligation.
Yeah.
We're all under an obligation.
Yeah.
Obligation to who? There's no crown anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's the machine of Rome, isn't it? It's the Treaty of Rome, where the machine is the corporation and the debt, we become the debtor, which has
Yep.
been going on for a very long time. But obviously, like we said in the intro, the devil is in, and the deception is in the detail.
Well, this is where they've ratified it in the Act of 1973. Well, 72, 73, when it came officially live. And this is what we've got to understand. This was clearly made to Edward Heath and Parliament and the Queen in 1960 because it affected the Crown.
Yeah.
Because she had to surrender her signing of treaties to the European government.
Yeah.
If you read on, now affects the courts.
Yeah. Independence of the courts. There is no precedent for our final appellate tribunal being required to refer questions of law, even in a limited field, to another court, and as I assume to be the implication of refer, to accept that court's decision. You will remember that when a similar proposal was considered in connection with the Council of Europe, we felt strong objection to it. I have no doubt that the whole of the legal profession in this country would share my dislike for such a proposal, which must inevitably detract from the independence and authority of our courts. Of those three objections, the first two are by far the more important. I must emphasise that in my view, the surrenders of sovereignty involved are serious ones, and I think that as a matter of practical politics, it will not be easy to persuade Parliament or the public to accept them, not that they care. I am sure that it would be a great mistake to underestimate the force of objections to them, but these objections ought to be brought into the open now, because if we attempt to gloss over them at this stage, those who are opposed to the whole idea of our joining the community will certainly seize on them with a more damaging effect later on. Having said this, I would emphasise once again that although those constitutional considerations must be given their full weight when we come to the balance, the arguments on the other side, I do not for one moment wish to convey the impression that they must necessarily tip the scale. In the long run, we shall have to decide whether economic factors require us to make some sacrifices of sovereignty. My concern is to ensure that we should see exactly what it is that we are being called on to sacrifice and how serious our loss would be, which, as we can kind of admit at this time, it's been a fairly significant, serious loss, hasn't it, Terry?
Well, it's been everything. We've lost everything. We've lost as courts. We've lost law. So now we're not under statutory law. Sorry, we're not under constitutional common law at all.
No.
And people go, oh, no, 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 we've still got common law. No, we haven't. We've only got common law when they deem it that they can entrap us into a criminal act.
Yep.
Right? It states there. It states it right there. We have now given over everything to the EEC, which has then become the EU.
Yeah.
Right? We've agreed to sell. Well, they've agreed to sell our souls.
Yeah, indeed.
Right? Simple as that. So if we pull up the 13, what is it, document, sweetheart?
I think we were going to electoral register document
Yeah,
next.
that electoral register one. So they've now got us under the presumption of obligation here.
Yeah.
Right? So this is how they've done it. Now you've got to read between the lines, obviously, with these tricky things. So if we scroll that down,
Yeah.
and if you read some of this, and it'll be on the website, right? This bill is required electoral registration to be I can't see that, Carly. Can you see that now? I can't see it. It's small on my thing on this.
Yeah. You mean I can read it
Yeah,
here.
yeah, please, sweetheart. Yeah, I can't see it from here, even with my glasses on.
Um, Registering to vote is about the nearest thing this country has to a social contract. It is recognition that we live in a democracy and abide by the outcome of that democracy. However, about 3.5 million people are not registered to vote. According to the Electoral Commission, these people are likely to be young, on low incomes, private sector tenants, ethnic minorities, or people with disabilities. Their disengagement from democracy is a cause of great concern to me and many other members. This bill will ensure that they engage. In
If we
future,
stop it there, love, so if you keep it to that, if you keep it where it is, right?
yeah,
This bill, right? So it's a bill now, okay?
yeah.
Now this is to secure democracy, so they say. Now I
So,
thought our democracy was under the Bill of Rights, under
yeah,
the Declaration of Rights, under the
yeah,
Magna Charta,
yeah,
under the Settlement Act,
yeah,
okay, which is our common law rights, ancient rights and laws and customs. Okay,
yeah,
they've now put this in that if we don't vote, we're outside of democracy. Well, is it not our right to decide if we want to or not vote?
yeah,
If
exactly.
we want to or not register?
Yeah,
We don't have to register for anything, nothing,
exactly.
because of our constitutional rights. But this is where the trickery comes in and deception of words.
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing this for the betterment of you. No, it's not.
It's always
No,
for
it's
your
not.
benefit.
Because read on. If you read on, it gets absolutely shocking.
Yeah. Okay. In future, if someone wants housing benefits, a state pension, a national insurance number, or even a driving license, they will have to be on the electoral register. And I do not think that that is too much to ask. After all, if people need to be on the electoral register to get a credit card, why not to get a driving license? Linking public services to the register will increase participation and draw an explicit connection between democracy and the benefits we enjoy, keyword, not rights, because we live in the democracy. If someone does not like living in a democracy, that is fine, but they should not expect all the good things that document does. I just find it funny as I'm reading it that democracy offers in return. It
Right.
says we know
So if we just stop,
we're not
so if we
here.
stop there now, so basically, what she's stating here is we don't live in a democracy,
Mm,
right? Our Bill of Rights have gone.
mm,
We're now going to force you
yeah,
into registering under the UK corporation, the Britain corporation, right?
yeah,
Because if you want your benefits, which aren't your benefits, they're entitlements.
exactly.
Because
And
we paid for all these systems. Our
yeah,
ancestors have paid for all these systems. The driving license was only a safety test because vehicles became
yeah,
faster.
yeah,
We did not sign up to a driving license because we have the right to travel under constitutional rights
exactly.
by any mode of transport. But
Yeah,
what we said was, oh, hang on a minute, we're getting a bit more technical advanced here. We need to make sure that people are safe, that you're
yeah.
not going to, jump in a car of, 2.5 litres, set off like a bat in hell, straight through a shop window with everybody in it.
That's like the
Yeah,
90s. It's the 90s.
right. Well, actually, the 50s, 60s, right? When at 50 odd, when this came in, the licenses came in, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But this is what I'm saying. So with this document now, they're tying in our entitlements
yeah.
and saying because we live in a democracy,
Mm,
right? We have now got to vote or be a part of the register. Who on earth? Who do they think they are? What did
exactly.
what did Lord Kilmore state? Parliament, mere
Yeah,
servants
yeah.
to the sovereignty of the people.
And this is what's been woefully forgotten, hidden, isn't it?
It
Exactly.
is, and this
Yeah,
is where they've literally tied us up into sweat equity slaves.
yeah, exactly.
Because
And
if you want something
democracy
from us,
actually, it needs
you
more.
have to sign up to us. Well, actually, no, sod off. These are our
Yeah,
entitlements. We paid into this system. Our forefathers paid into this system. We paid for all the roads, the highways, the byways, the BBC, everything from our taxes.
yeah, yeah. And as we know, like it's all in that language again, isn't it? And that the corrupt gloss, and we know about our Chicago manual styles. We know about the grammatical deceit, entering into these foreign language kind of contracts, really, with registering to vote. What's an X in a box? Well, it's how does that decide anything? It's
Exactly. It's their four corner rule so they can wipe it off the page. But that
yeah,
goes into legalese and everything else, which I didn't want to do today. It's
no,
just look at the language that they're using. Because we now live in a democracy, never mind the fact that we've already bought this democracy through blood, glorious revolutions from 1215 to 1268, 1668, 1688, where it states the glorious revolution.
yeah,
1835, when they tried this nonsense again. And you've seen, and I've shown you the documents, and it was dismissed, dismantled everything in 1886. So
yeah,
what they've done now is they've taken away our Englishness and the realm of England and England and put us under a UK corporation. And for that benefit of being in a UK corporation, there is no benefit into this corporation, none at all,
not really, no. And I'll
because
say,
it's our pensions. It's
yeah,
our pensions that we paid for. It's our national insurance. They don't pay for it.
yeah,
We go
yeah,
to work and pay for it.
yeah.
How dare they tell us what's our money's going to do? And the fact that we don't belong to that association, because that's what it is, we're not entitled to anything.
Yeah, yeah, Yeah,
If you
exactly.
carry on reading on, it's shocking. It gets worse.
Okay, the electoral register is important and deserves to be comprehensive. It is the source of deciding who does jury service, so everyone should be on it. As far as I am concerned, refusal to be on the register shows contempt for juries and contempt for courts. Blech. What is
Hang on,
more,
hang on, hang on. Who's been to court recently and asked for a jury? You can't get one.
yeah, they're not doing it,
You
are they?
can't get one. You couldn't get one in 2013 because they'd
No,
subverted the law.
yeah,
So
they have.
this is another an absolute deception.
Mhm. Yeah.
Carry
What
on.
is what is more, the electoral register is an important tool in the fight against crime. The police routinely use the register if they want to get in touch with a suspect or someone who is at risk. It's all for your safety. It is what banks and credit card companies use to prevent fraud. The banksters, the biggest fraudsters going. Councils use to check that people do not commit council tax or benefit fraud. Wow. A failure to sign the register is therefore a failure to cooperate with the agencies that fight crime. Get me a sick bucket. I do not have a problem with reasonable sanctions being taken against those that do not sign. Wow, this is 1984 in a paragraph, isn't it? Wow.
This is how they've done us, right? Because they've now not only taken our rights away and done it for over 13 years to 73,
Yeah,
they've now brought this bill in to literally give them authority over us, and it gets better because
yeah,
now they're stating straight, John Bull, if we don't play, they can come and get us at any cost.
yeah, basically, isn't it? That's it. Yeah. The Nazi goons that
Yep,
call policy officers
yep.
disguising themselves as police constables. Classic. And that's it. And again, it's all in the language, isn't it? We're giving up our entitlements and rights. And I did a show with Kevin, and we were talking about how we have those entitlements, and they're just completely changing all the language so that it's about benefits, not playing by their own rules and screwing over the most vulnerable in society. And it's about exposing the con, isn't it? It's as simple as that. It's paradox. It's complex, but it's paradoxically simple, isn't it? In effect,
Well,
and we just need the numbers to get everybody to know it, to see it.
basically, this is the point now, right? And if you don't see this from this document, go back to sleep, nail your coffin lid down, because you will be a slave forevermore, right?
Yeah,
These two documents now should open your eyes and go, what the hell am I doing? Because you have now been forced to go to work for 60, 70 hours a day to pay bills that you're not entitled to, you shouldn't be paying.
yeah,
And
yeah,
now, because you're not part of their association under their 5 different types of treason and
yeah.
sedition, because they've subverted your constitutional rights. Let's not forget anything that is repugnant to the Constitution is automatically void for being as such. And we'll
Yeah.
come to that in a minute. But if you read on, it is so shocking as this document. It's repugnant to everything.
Of course, the electoral register should be supported for nobler reasons. Charities, which is basically money laundering, use it to help raise funds for countless good causes. When it comes down to it, however, its central purpose to give people a chance to vote is more important than anything else. For that reason alone, I think we can all agree that the electoral register should be as comprehensive as possible. When I went to the USA last year to volunteer on the Obama for America campaign, some politicians engaged in what was called voter suppression, a deliberate attempt to ensure that poor people, ethnic minorities, and the young could not vote. Surely none of us want to live in that kind of country where elections are won or lost because of who is denied a vote. My bill is an antidote to voter suppression, and it is needed because of the 3.5 million figure that is about to grow.
Right, but if you stop there, I hope this is made clear to you now, right?
Mm.
That she went to America and she's just confirmed
Yeah,
voter fraud in the
yeah,
Obama election.
yeah,
She's just confirmed it there.
yeah, yeah. Well, and
Suppression of voters.
yeah,
She just confirmed what Donald Trump's been saying all this time.
yeah.
I went and volunteered on the Obama for America campaign,
Mm-mm.
engaged in a deliberate attempt to ensure that poor people, ethnic minorities, and the young could not vote.
Mm.
Now, surely that's voter fraud.
Yeah.
She's confirmed it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
A
But
British politician has confirmed the Americans violated their own constitution.
yeah, which of course they're under a corporate
They are
attestation.
under the same nonsense we are. It's a corporate city now.
Yeah, exactly.
So if
Exactly.
you carry on, that is just absolutely ludicrous. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. I'm sure that the government are not committing voter suppression, but according to the Electoral Commission, registration rates may soon fall from 90% to 65%. Mums and dads are about to be prevented from registering their children to vote. Individual registration sounds appealing, but when it was introduced in Northern Ireland, the register collapsed by 11%. The Electoral Commission says that this adversely affected disadvantaged groups, the people most likely to be disengaged. Thankfully, the government's plan to make registering to vote optional was shelved and the annual canvass was reinstated. However, there are serious flaws in the new system of registration, especially with regard to how difficult it will be for local authorities to sign people up. The challenge of getting people to register was belatedly recognised last month by the Minister for Political and Constitutional Reform, the Parliamentary Secretary, Cabinet Office, the Honourable Member for Norwich North, Miss Smith, when she offered 4.2 million for anyone who could come up with unspecified measures to reduce the number of people who fall through the gaps. However, as the Electoral Reform Society says, when you're talking about trying to prevent literally millions of people from falling off the register, 4.2 million is not a great deal of money. You need a lot more than that to close the gap. My council, Merton, is very good at promoting the electoral register. Before its annual canvass, only 65% of households have completed their form. Afterwards, 97% have. That, however, is households. Like many of us, I knock on a lot of doors to talk to constituents, and there are homes where I see the same faces every year but miss the same individuals every time. Electoral registration officers will no longer be able to accept the word of the person they do see that the person they do not see still lives there. So those people will fall off the register. And because EROs will no longer be able to accept forms that are completed on the doorstep, but will have to rely on people to fill them in later, even good proactive councils such as Merton will have to fall back on blind faith. We all know that many of those forms will never be filled in or returned. Because as we know, an X in about an illiterate X in the box because it classes you as illiterate doesn't mean shit, does it? Because they used to call them the opinion polls. We did a video on it, didn't we, Terry? Because it's just a slip in its opinion, but
It's an opinion.
they
And
like
not
to
only that, but read between the lines what she's saying to you there.
Mm.
It's basically they don't trust their own constituents,
No, of course.
right? By telling you that they're not there. Because they've created so much tax, so much everything that people can't afford, right? So
Yeah,
people are having to try and hide people that live with them so that they can survive with the
yeah,
council tax, with whatever came before the council tax when Margaret Thatcher was in, right?
yeah,
We all remember the riots there.
yeah,
Well, some of us do. I'm old enough to remember.
yeah,
But this is shocking,
yeah,
absolutely shocking. They're now offering a £4.2 million bribe. It's
yeah,
bribery.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and it just goes on that literally within this document, they've admitted the Obama election was rigged,
yeah,
right? She's admitted that we now, because we live in a democracy, well, what were we living before? A constitutional democracy,
yeah,
which means we were the power, we were the authority,
yeah,
we held the sovereignty, and we held Parliament to account. We've just all seen what's just happened on a 3.1 million signature petition. We're going to ignore it because we're not your parliament anymore.
Well, exactly. And petition means to beg. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. It's getting back to it goes back to those trust positions again. It's the perfect crime of conversion. And when everyone kind of gets that, all this issues with inheritance tax with the farmers, that all goes away. It's like you said, Terry, it's trust law, common law, constitutional law, and obviously the grammatical deceit on all of
It,
these
it, it,
documents
we,
gets
we
sent.
could, I mean, some people won't understand what you've just said there. I mean, to be fair, some of it I didn't quite understand. But what it is it comes down to fraud and deception. It's
Yeah,
it, it's an intent to steal, right? Because this is all this is. It's to steal your power of attorney, to
yeah,
steal your constitutional rights, and to tell you that you haven't got any. Right? And I'm going to show you that in the next document.
yeah,
So if you look at this, and it's going on the website so you can see it, you can take your time and read this and understand what we're trying to do here.
yeah.
This document basically says, and here you go, if you can just read where I would go even further,
Oh, right, yeah.
right? Because this comes to the end of it. But this is the most important bit, I think.
I would go even further. Registering should be stage one in the process of interacting with government. At a stroke, that would reinstate millions of people who are missing from the register. Control. The vast majority of the missing people are eligible for benefits, tax credits, pensions, and so on, and many are already receiving them. Bringing those people onto the register would ensure that even more people are engaged in the democratic process. The bill is about living in a something for something society, public services in return for civic duty. Wow. The rewards of living in a democracy in return for signing up to a democracy. Registering to vote is about engagement. It is a recognition that a person is not on the margins, but a full participant in society. It is our social contract. That's why they
There's
want
that.
you.
There's the word.
There it is.
That's how they've contracted us,
There we go.
right?
Yeah.
That's how they've contracted us into their corporate society,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's not their benefits. It's not their whatever.
Yeah.
It is our benefit. It's not even a benefit. It's an entitlement, right?
Exactly.
We don't go down and say, oh, please, sir, can we have some more? We should be going into that office and saying, right, I want this, I want that, and I want the other. These are my bills. You're now paying them. I've paid enough tax, national insurance to cover me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and we have that's that whole point. And like I say, I will put up that Ronley Stewart video on conversion is one of the simplest, best explained videos I've seen, and I'll link it down below as well, and we
yeah,
can
yeah.
put it.
Please, if you can, oh, that'll help people understand
How
this
this,
this
how this
nonsense what they're putting up.
works. Yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
got to be.
Yeah. And
Now,
these administrators as well, Terry. It's like it's the whole game, which is why we've had all this, there's all kinds of different wars. And that's why they have to create these wars, because the game is to kill us as debtors before we become aware that we were the creditor all along. And that's why, this war, all right, they're not lining us up in front of each other to kill each other. We've actually queued up to unfortunately kill ourselves, and it's to kill.
we have, look, this is what they're saying now. They're coming out and basically saying you're going to have to get ready for World War III. No, we're not. We've
We're in
told
it.
them straight, John Bull, we're not doing it. Who
Yeah,
the
yeah.
hell are you to say that we're going to go to war? Because I can tell you now, once we do what we're doing here, there will be no World War III. English troops will return home. It is not our war. We are not the policemen of the world. I don't care what's going off in Israel because it's bank led. I don't care what's going off in Ukraine because all that's a farce. It's a lie.
Well, they have to keep us in a perpetual state of war for them to be
Well,
able to run.
it's a state of emergency. It's actually
Yeah,
classed as a state of emergency.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
the way they've done it, why do you think we've signed up to give Ukraine 3 billion for the next 100 years? Right?
because Ukraine's all Khazari and it was Canaan as well, so we know
Right? And
what that.
that makes a difference. That to me don't make any difference. What makes a difference is it's a state of emergency. What's climate change? The biggest lie and con going.
State of
It's a
emergency.
state of emergency.
Exactly. They're
While
all.
ever they can keep this state of emergency rolling in one form or another, or three or four forms,
Yeah.
they can keep fiat money rolling through the system.
Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling. Yes, great, yeah.
Right? And this is the important bit. Bill read the first time to be
Yeah.
read a second time on Friday, the 24th of January 2014, and
Mm.
then to be printed, Bill 95. So
Yeah.
this has now been read once. This has been read twice, and
Mm.
it's now been in print, right?
Yeah.
So now this is what they class as law. So when we ask for how have you got us here, this bill, because we are now under a social contract that we didn't even know about.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? I
By
don't like,
signing up to read to vote, we are under a social contract and accepted
yeah,
um, to receive benefits
yeah,
that are entitlement, right? That
yeah,
is nothing to do with them, not a thing. They are mere servants.
yeah,
But what Parliament's done, and the next document will shock you. So that's this. I want to leave this one away now. So we've all got that. We all fairly understand it. That will be put on the site, which Callie will go through shortly. This one. Now, this is done on the 15th of August, 2019. Now, you've seen the other one. It was done in 2014 and then went to print whenever it went to print, right? So that's now their bill. That's it. That's what they're trying to enforce, that we're under a social contract of compelled performance by presumption of obligation. And it stated it in that document. But here's the beauty. In 2016, they wanted to wash all sins away by stating, right, we're going to give you an opportunity now to come out, Brexit, or we
yeah,
stay in. Okay? Now, we sent a very clear message to Parliament. We're out.
yeah,
2016. We're not faffing about. We're out. We want we want everything back. We want our sovereignty back. We want the lot back. So this is a document from 2019.
hmm,
The order of precedence between common law, equity, that's equity law, UK statutes and EU law. UK statutes is the law made by Parliament and is primary legislation of the United Kingdom. Don't say England, does it? It is covered most parts of the legal system. However, various areas of law are overseen by common law. The statutes considered of bills, both private and public, it is written in a form, documentation, and codified into law. Well, you see, that's a complete and utter lie, because Parliament doesn't have the authority to codify anything into law. It's statutory. It's under the Separation of Powers Act. Parliament cannot conduct law. Can't do it. It's for two different entities. And this is where people get very seriously mixed up, right? Because of the language. If you're a person, that means that you are a corporation legal fiction. It states in a maxim of law, right? In common law. Okay? And this is what people need to understand. If you are the man, you are of substance. Yeah? Because a person is nothing more than a piece of paper. It's a corporate entity. Right? We know that's difficult to understand. But if you like, you've got a twin brother stood at the side of you. When you clock into work, your corporate self goes to work. When you clock out of work, you become a man.
yeah,
Where only laws of the land are over you, right? If you do corporate espionage or out like that, or you sell company secrets or do anything to the company, that's where you fall of the statutes. Nothing more. Because statutes are only rules and regulations. They are not laws. So, in the relationship between statutes and common law, it is the fact that statutes are generally comprehensive and self-supporting statutes do not purport to cover all possibilities, circumstances, or possible. Can you go from there, Spark? I'm struggling to read it. It's me.
Or,
It's on.
yeah, or
Well,
all possible considerations that may be relevant in deciding a particular case. Common law is therefore crucial to understanding and applying statute law. When a judge hears and decides individual cases, they apply and interpret both UK statute and common law. However, when common law varies with UK statute, the statute law will overrule in their jurisdiction.
you've gone past it again.
Mm.
See, you've done what everybody else did last night, right? Now, just read that again, please, Scott.
So, when a judge hears and decides individual cases, they apply and interpret both UK statute and common law. However, when common law varies with UK statute, the statute law will overrule
Since when?
in their jurisdiction. That's it. In their
The Bill of
minds.
The Bill of Rights clearly states anything that is repugnant to common law is void for being such. I'm going to show you that shortly. We'll show you that together shortly, right?
Yeah.
So UK statutes cannot overrule common law. This is why they brought this in,
Yeah.
right? This is telling us that now they've overridden common law, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
natural common law, right? It's not common law. Again, word trickery. If you go on from there, Cop.
Common law is made by judges and developed through the principle of binding precedent and the decisions of the courts. It is a legal precedent that is made by judges within a court. The system gives precedential weight, to common law on the principle that it is unjust to treat similar facts in a different way on varying occasions.
Keep going.
Equity law is a legal set of principles where the petitions addressed to the Chancellor are designed to complement common law. It allows courts to a certain degree of flexibility and justice that sometimes lacks due to common law's rigidity.
Next one.
EU law is the law and court judgments which operated in conjunction with the legal systems of the European Union. States which it affects, where a conflict occurs, EU law would take precedence over the national law, and these laws are binding on national authorities. As the UK is a member state within the EU, the EU's law is hence a part of UK law. The European Court would override the UK courts on appeals on areas of law which the EU has passed legislation. Well, they passed the Judicature Act, didn't they? That binded them, the lower courts, didn't they?
Well, this is the thing. You see,
It's all fraud.
no, yeah, but this is what I'm saying. They're now stating as a fact, right, that they have now got the authority to overrule natural common law and your Bill of Rights,
Yeah.
right? Because of this here. We are now a member of the EU. Well, we're not a member of the EU anymore.
No.
So this proves that we are still in the EU.
Yeah.
Because we've not got a sovereignty back. We've not got Parliament back. We've not got law back. They're still running under EU statutes and UK statutes, which is the corporation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, again, when we're going into court, believing it's a court of law, and you've got to look at the laws that they brought in. So we all think we're under Admiralty Maritime Law, right? That's what the police are so-called running in because of the check. The check means stop, we want to speak to you. Or whatever, and I'll share that document with you. Right? But it's on maritime law. It's a flag in maritime. Right? So they now consider themselves to be sort of a vessel with no port. Okay, if you read into it. Now what they've done is, because of the other document in 2013 that they've just done, the right to vote, they've put us under a social contract, which now brings in equity law, because equity law is contract law. Contract law states a compelled performance by presumption of obligation for the benefit. Now, does this make sense? Yeah, so now we're under a contract of social contract to live in a democracy. And to live in that democracy, we have to pay the piper by
Mhm.
standing under UK statutory and EU legislation,
Mhm.
right? Because they're the only two that marry up. Common law doesn't marry up with EU at all, right? So that's the con. So when you walk into these corporate courts, they're no longer corporate courts of law. They're not courts of law.
Yeah.
They are simply statutory courts in commerce
Yeah.
under an assumed social contract that's not signed, because all contracts must be entered into voluntary,
Mhm.
knowingly, intentionally, with a meeting of the minds.
Mhm.
When have 67 million of us had this meeting of the minds with government or Charles III, Charles I, whatever he wants to be known as? We've
Yeah.
not. It doesn't exist. So they've now flawed in their assumptions, because this is what they've done with the presumptions of law. The 12 presumptions of law are now, you are guilty because you are there. So
Yeah.
when is our common law constitutional right of I am innocent until proven guilty?
Yes. Inverted
Gone,
again.
gone.
Mhm.
No, it states it there. Because we
Yeah.
are now in a democracy. Well, we were in a democracy before they put this nonsense in. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are not under contract because they haven't got the right to contract with us. Right? Parliament is nothing but mere servants.
Yeah.
Councils are nothing but mere servants. MPs are nothing but mere servants.
Yeah.
Police are nothing but mere servants. Now they flipped the switch.
Yeah.
They are now the authority because we are under EU legislation. We are under UK statutory law, and our common law rights have been dissolved. The Magna Charta's gone. Your Bill of Rights is next, and it is gone.
Yeah.
This takes precedent now over all. Now, that's massive because we are under now a presumption of obligation to nothing.
Yeah. Hence why you bring in your UCC 1308 in, isn't it, for the compelled performance? The compelling performance, aren't they, in their jurisdiction?
But they're attempting to, and this is why they're ignoring all the law. And this is why they're now writing back and saying it's nondescript. Because we're putting in case law, which proves they can't do what they're doing. We're putting in maxims of law, and they're
Yeah.
under legislation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what it states there is, unfortunately, your common law, natural common law rights and Bill of Rights no longer exist
Yeah.
because we've taken them away. Because Parliament now is not only for the statutory, it is also the highest court in the land. Well, it can't be. That's a breach of the Separation of Powers Act. So
Yeah.
if we read on,
Okay. Common law's rigidity. EU law is the law and court judgments which operated in conjunction with the legal systems of the European Union states which it affects. Where a conflict occurs, EU law would take precedence over the national law, and these laws are binding on national authorities. Oh, I think we read this bit, didn't we? As the UK is a member state within the EU, the EU's law is hence a part of UK law. The European Court would override the UK courts on appeals on areas of law which the EU has passed legislation. Wow, okay. So basically, they're trying to say that they can overrule English law with EU legislation.
correct. Well, they have done. They're not saying it. They've done it.
Yeah,
They've done
yeah,
it. And this is every time we walk into these courts, they're not under any law at all. So if you like, well, they are, but it's not law that we understand. It is equity law.
yeah,
And what does it say about common law? It's the rigidity of common law.
yeah,
All laws come from past, right? That's our common law and ancient customs and rights, yeah? To
yeah,
stand under common law. So what they do is they look back at old laws. If you look at any law before 2002, you will see it writing up that he's taken and he gives examples from 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, right, of similar cases that state the law. Now they have now massive flexibility, because what they do is they go from equity law, EU law, UK statute law, and then common law. So when you go into court, you're not facing one jurisdiction or one state. You are now facing multiple jurisdictions, multiple states, so you can never win. And it's nothing more than an entrapment court, because you have been bought and paid for by the by whoever's bringing the plaintiff. Because who pays for the court? They do. The plaintiff does. So what have they bought? They bought the judge. They bought the room. By paying a fee to courts for justice, puts the judge under a complete bias and contempt of court in law. But under their nonsense, they now don't have to be under law. They're now under legal statutes by delegated powers from who? Parliament. And what have we just proven in the last two documents? There is no delegation of power. None. Parliament doesn't have the authority to delegate authority. It doesn't have it. You can only delegate power once. We've delegated to our MPs. The MPs cannot delegate that into ministerial roles and say, okay, we're going to have this. We're going to delegate you, because it's classed as a non-ministerial role. Comes under Parliament. So we'll put this case law up, we'll put this up for everybody to read. And this was done on the 15th of August, 2019, 3 years after we told Parliament to come out. So why are they still colluding with the EU? Again in treason. To cover their backs. And this is what it is. It's to actually overrule our common law rights by stating, as Edward E, as the letter to Edward E, Lord Kilmore states, how much are we going to give away? The independence of the courts is now sold down the river. The courts are no longer independent. They're commercial. They're all registered to a foreign state through UCCs. They're all registered to the Crown Corporation that no longer exists. Doesn't exist.
If it wasn't so serious, Terry, it would be funny. And it is slightly funny. The Divine Comedy in play.
Right?
It's just...
Well, the daft thing is, if you look up how long a trademark lasts, the trademark lasts 70 years. QE2, and I'm not going to go to the argument like they tried to get into last night. Well, she was never the Queen. She never signed this. She didn't do that. She didn't do the other. Don't care about that nonsense. She came in 1952, signed up, claimed her trademark. 1952. When did she die?
Oh, crikey, I can't remember.
2022. Right? How long is that from 52 to 72 to 22?
70 years, I guess.
To the day. So what has gone? The Crown trademark. This is why if you look on all the documents from the CPS now, it doesn't have a Crown trademark. It has a scales on a stand. Right? Because they've had to remove it. Okay? So it's no longer a Crown document. So longer it's not got any more authority. None. When you're sent to prison, who sends you to prison? Signed by the king. But if there isn't a king, who signed it?
Corporation. The head of a corporation.
The head of state, pretending to be a king. Because when that went through on 1973, Lord Kilmore's letter clearly states, right?
Yeah.
And it's also in, can you fetch up that FCO document, please, babe?
I can. Here we are.
Right, this
It's,
is the confidential document. I'm not going to go through this because it'd be too long and we're already pushing on time. So I'm going to put this up for you, right?
yeah.
This states, it's all, you can see it, private and confidential, here it goes, right? And this is the one, and this is from the Home Office, that basically states, once they sign up, the Queen is no longer the Queen.
Yeah.
Therefore, we're going to give her the title of head of state,
Yeah.
right? And Queen. So she could wear the crown in whatever. But he was never coronated because he couldn't be, because the end of the line and the lineage of the Windsors came to an end in 73. The illusion was smacked. If you look up the Crown Office, it's a public office. If you look up the Office of King, it's a public office. Right? So this document goes on and it tells you, this is from the Foreign Office, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? And this was covered up for 30 years, as well as Lord Kilmore's letter. And it was covered up for the same reason.
Yeah.
It is all treason. It was treason by the monarch. It is treason by the monarch today, and it's treason by Parliament.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every office within it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you to put that up, Spadge. We'll obviously add more to that and put some more weight behind that shortly.
Leave that with me.
But it's there. Okay.
Yes.
If we now put up the Separation of Powers Act.
Separation of powers. Yep, got that here. Yep.
Right, there you go. Separation of powers.
Yep.
There you go. Again, I don't want to go into too much in this, but it's there. You can clearly see there is a separation of powers.
Allegedly.
No, there isn't anymore. That's the point.
I know.
Right? There is no separation of powers. All power now, or what they class as power, has gone to Parliament. Parliament now becomes the court. It's the head. It's the what is it court? It's the highest court in England. No, it's not. No judge is under oath. No judge carries a bond, and no judge is a judge. And I don't care what court you sit in, because you have to be under the sovereign power of the king from our sovereignty. They're all public offices. There it is.
Yeah.
Legislative, executive, and judicial function of government among separation and independent bodies, such a separation, it has been argued, limits and possibilities accessed by government. It's put in place for them not to become tyrannical.
Yeah.
Now they've claimed all the power. They are running amok.
Yeah.
The doctrine may be traced to the ancient medieval theories of mixed government. It's all there. It's worth reading, right?
Yeah.
There is no separation of powers at the minute. None. It's all under one roof, Parliament. This is now why we've got political prisoners being locked up by having their freedom of speech ripped away from them.
Yeah.
And they're now banged up in an illegal prison that's a corporation.
Wow. And it's just absolute insanity, isn't it? Like there's just I always say now it literally is lawless out there, and that's exactly what we've just proven, or you've
All
proven.
police officers are terrorists.
Absolutely.
Every single one of them, because they're turning up as a private corporation in the pretext of being a public office.
Yeah.
Now, this is where it gets very tasty for them, because they are no longer in public office.
No.
None of them. Why are they dipping into the public purse and being paid from it? That's fraud by deception. That's theft.
Yeah.
Right? That's also treason from 1973, because they buried it. It's felony treason. It's subversion of the Constitution. It's subversion of the Magna Charta.
Yeah.
And they cannot subvert it. And it's up to us to say, whoa, 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 what's all this nonsense? Why are you doing what you are doing? You haven't got the authority to do what you're doing. You either remove yourselves and are dissolved, or we remove you.
Yeah.
But it has to be everybody.
Yeah. Well, and this is it. This is why they're so hell bent, as we know, on dumbing us down so that we
Yep.
don't work this system out. This and then the Vatican then becomes the debtor, and the fall of Rome is, which I do believe that we are in. I mean, ultimately, in it, Terry, we've got to get people just to understand the basics of this, because it is always as ever a numbers game, I think, don't you?
It is. It is. It's 100%. People are angry, but they don't
Yeah.
know what they're angry at. They don't know how to figure this out because they've buried all this information. They've destroyed every credible thread that we've got. We've got people on TikTok and they're being destroyed. They put people in deliberately to bring the truth down.
Yeah.
Well, now the evidence is there. Now the evidence is clear, because you can't bring what I've just shown down. It's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all off the websites. It's all there in plain for you to all view.
Yeah.
You can do your own due diligence. Give it a quick click on the old internet. There you go. Bloody hell, it's right. It's here.
Yeah.
And it's not been messed with. It's not been whatever. Right? Separation of Powers Act. That is one of the biggest fundamental rights that we have. Parliament does not have the right to sit under everything. It doesn't.
No.
Charles said, I have now given all my authority to my Parliament. It's not yours.
Yeah, yeah. I was just going to say that's the key word there, isn't it? My.
But it is his, because every public officer, laughable now, right? And we've just proved they're not public officers, are now under an affestation affirmation.
Yeah.
Which means to the head of state. It's a treasonous corporation.
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah.
All roads lead back to Charles I, as he's now known. And the reason he's known as Charles I now and not the third is because he's the first head of the state corporation. I've shown you our last one, where all their corporation numbers are.
Yeah.
We're even floated on the stock market.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, when we were talking, Terry, weren't we? Is an interesting one, like, and it clicked in my head. Like, obviously, it's King Charles, and then you've got the stock market, of which we are the stock, and then you've got your stakeholders, haven't you? Stake.
Yep. As in stake.
The
Glad the
Vladistar.
Impaler. Yeah, Glad the Impaler.
To these bloodlines of, and this is a system that was, started thousands of years ago, really, but has been perfected. And like you say, we've battled it at points, the Bill of Rights, the Magna Charta, etc., and so on. And this is what they're desperately trying to hide and push down.
Well, look, they think they've succeeded, right, in dumbing us down to say that the Magna Charta no longer exists.
Yeah.
Right? It does exist, and it's there. It was put into the Constitution, and it cannot be repealed, ever. Parliament does not have the jurisdiction, and it doesn't have the authority. We've now just heard it from the document of 1960. Now, everybody, I mean, I personally don't think 1960 is a long way away in time, because I was born in 60s, right? So that tells you how old I am. But it's there. Parliament does not have the jurisdiction, and this is what everybody's got to understand. It's the jurisdictions that separate. Separation of powers is about the separation of jurisdictions, right? You cannot have two authorities stood in the same jurisdiction. You can't have two states stood in the same jurisdiction, right? So that means you can't have the UK and EU stood in the same state. Well, we are. Yeah. You can't have equity law, common law, EU law, statutory law, and whatever else you want to make up in the same court. Each jurisdiction is its own court. It cannot cross over, not even a slightly, because that's the beauty of common law. It's rigid. You're
Yeah.
either guilty or you are not.
Yeah.
You will not be found guilty if you are not guilty. Now, the
Yeah.
key word is there, found guilty. And
Yeah.
the reason they've done away with the Magna Charta, because they can't do any of this, because it states no man can be exiled, no man can have his assets stolen, he cannot be thrown out of his own home. Can't be
Yeah.
done, right? This
What
is
they
why they had to do away with it. So
yeah.
the banks could repossess everything, even
And
though
it,
the fact
sorry, go on.
they've done, they don't lend you anything. The mortgage contract is a fraud. We've all proven that time and time again. The money is valueless. It has no value. So the
Yeah.
judge will say to you, we've had this before in a court of law where they just, yeah, but you can't say the money's valueless because you ended up with your house through that money. No, we didn't. What we ended up with is what they've done now is usury beneficial rights only. Ownership has gone. We are
Yeah.
now under a social obligation for the right to have benefits.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the great con. They're not
Yeah.
fucking benefits. We paid for these out of our taxes. Our
Yeah.
ancestors paid for these in blood.
Yeah.
World War One, World War Two, Falklands War, all of it. Right?
Yeah.
Every war that we've ever fought in was our ancestors on the front line battling to protect our rights under law.
Yeah. And it's been that way for thousands of years without going into the
Yeah.
history of it.
This
And
is
like,
now an absolute disgrace and betrayal of their blood and tears and men that we've lost.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's why I've done videos as unpopular as they are about, of course, we have to honor our dead, but we have to get to the true root of why our men are being sent to war, because it is to kill the creditor before everyone wakes up. And so that there's not a lot of awake men who can, take that system on, which we've been doing for, like I say, for thousands of years, battling Rome. That's exactly what it's about. And that's the game.
It's about battling everything now. I mean, the thing is, for us now, it's about battling and taking back what is rightfully ours. Now, there's two ways of doing this. Now, I'm going to be doing, hopefully, with yourself and a few others, and I'm going to join forces with the farmers. I'm hoping that all our people of these little groups, big groups, whatever groups they are, we all come together, and on the around about the 10th of April, we all refuse to go to work. We
Yeah.
literally say no. I'll be doing a letter into Parliament and I'll be sharing it on this channel and on many more, hopefully,
Yeah.
which can be downloaded, where we now claim our sovereignty back. We now claim who we are and our true standing through an
Yeah.
affidavit, and we give Parliament 28 days to remove themselves, or 14 days to remove themselves.
Yeah.
They are not in charge, we are. We don't
Yeah.
care that they've got 150,000 police officers that are, I would say, at least 10 to 20% of them are under investigation for criminality.
Yeah.
The courts have now just ruled that you can't sack a copper because he's a criminal and shouldn't be in the police force. Mark,
Wow.
the head of Metropolitan Services, have just come out, they're appealing it, right? But
Yeah.
this is how corrupt the system is now.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Right? It is now so far gone, it doesn't know the ups and downs. Doesn't
No.
know which way is up, which down. If you are summoned to court, there's a document called a statutory declaration.
Mhm.
You sign it, you get it stamped, and you go, no, this breaches CPR 31, CPR 31.6, CPR 24.5, and my constitutional rights. You have issued a fine or forfeiture before prosecution and literally go away.
Yeah.
It's illegal, right? And if you pull out the metric martyrs, Carly,
Yeah. One a second, everybody. Um, Let me know if you can see it when it comes up.
I will do, because we've still got the separation of powers up at the minute.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see that?
No.
No.
No, we've
Some
still got that. What is it on? Separation of
sometimes
powers.
if I kind of go back in, it sometimes yeah, that's why it can be a bit twixy. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we go on here, there you go.
Yeah.
A valid contract must be shown or of contempt. Attempt to fraud is issued or a fraudulent false document will be brought. Basically, when a company takes you to court, it has to do a statement of truth and fact.
Yeah.
They're all corporations, so what do they need? A
Yeah.
contract between you and them stating that you've agreed to something.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a presumption of a contract. So that's why you ask for it. Okay. Otherwise, it's contempt of court for the judge and it's contempt of court for the third party. But they ignore these laws. These are their laws. If you do not have a private appointment to verify claim or trespass declared in the wrongful harm to the contract of a woman, again, common law is basically no harm, no loss, no injury, no foul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, this was upheld in 2002 by 5 justices.
Yeah.
It was done in originally, I think it was the 18th of February 2002, by Justice Laws and another justice, and I keep trying to remind myself to look this guy's name up because they were brilliant, who basically upheld the Constitution, the Bill of Rights,
Right.
right? And it states there, and this is from your Bill of Rights, that all grants and promises of fines and forfeitures of a particular person before conviction are illegal and void. Any and all laws that are repugnant to the Constitution, your Bill of Rights, are therefore void for being as such.
Yeah.
Now, the Road Traffic Act is void.
Yeah.
Issuing fines and forfeitures is void.
Yeah.
The police issuing you penalty points for speeding is void.
Yeah. Yeah, because unless you're going up constitutionally in front of a trial by jury to be kind of, and like I say, it's to do with like who's bringing the case. Only a living man and women can bring a case against a living man and woman. That's why they've got to turn us into corporations and stick us in that administrative jurisdiction, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because,
well,
like I
it's a
say,
presumption. It's a
yeah,
presumption. You are under equity law as soon as you walk into that court,
yeah,
because now you have been compelled to perform. So by them issuing a summons to get you to court, you've turned up. There's a little couple of tricks that you can use to go in there and ensure that it's done by stating full straight bang, I am the chief executive of the trust. I am here by special appointment. I am the sole beneficiary and the sole executor. I
yeah,
now state and walk up to the bar. There is my invoice. Touch the bar, touch the bench, because it's not a bar. They're now trying to hide behind the bar because it's a bar guild court,
yeah,
right? Under equity law. So you've now just trapped them in the wrong jurisdiction. And once
yeah,
you touch the bench, that puts you in law, under common law. They don't like it. You collapse the trust. They're only after your money, both double dipping.
yeah,
This is what they've been doing all our lives. We didn't know, right? And it states there, you cannot bring a fine or forfeiture without the due process of law, which is a trial by jury. What have they banned now out of England?
yeah.
Jury trials.
They banned them. I didn't know
Oh,
that.
but the, but you can't get one.
Well,
You can't get one for a civil case. You can't get one for a civil case. You can't get one for a criminal case, and you certainly can't get one for anything. Because who pays for the court? The corporation. They pay the courts to have a room. We know this. They've told us. We've got documentation after documentation. When they take you to a council tax, right, under the Finance Act 1992, which is void because it's repugnant to common law.
yeah,
It's repugnant. It just tells us there, right? Because the fact is that they're bringing you on the presumption that your house can be turned into a business?
Yeah.
Well, no, it can't, because that act, the Finance Act, is for shops. For
Yeah.
everything else, they've now categorised your home, your dwelling, your private dwelling,
Yeah.
as a business,
Yeah.
because you're a business. I know that sounds absolutely far-fetched and ridiculous, but that's the con.
Well, no,
So your home now is a business, right?
yeah.
Because you're dwelling there. Because you, the business, the corporation, are living there.
Yeah.
So they now can clarify that you are that is a business,
Yeah.
right? That's how they're doing it. But if you
Yeah.
go to them and say, right, I now need to change my private property into a business, I would need an application to the council
Yeah. Yeah.
and say change of use or
Yeah.
planning permission. So the council would know automatically if you got a change of use and your private dwelling became
Yeah.
into a public corporation piece of paper.
Yeah. Well, that's why they class us as residents, because it means temporarily residing there to do business. That's what
Yes.
resident legally is. Yeah.
And this is the trickery of their words. This is why we've got to get away from this nonsense.
Yeah.
State to the council, they've got 14 days to remove themselves. They're all sacked by the
Yeah.
authority of the people of England. The
Yeah.
UK corporation is now done. We are not under the UK corporation. They aren't our benefits. They're our entitlements. We worked for these. We paid for them. We're not going to come in cap in hand and go, please, sir, can you send me £100 a week? Oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't think so. Here you go. This is my expenditure per month. I want that, and I want an extra 15% to live on.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
We
it.
tell them their entitlements because we've paid our taxes, our national insurances,
Yeah.
to be able to live in a democracy,
Mm.
not to become a private corporation through nonsense under an EU law that is not an EU law, it's a legislative nonsense. And we've just proved it. Just in those small documents there that we've compiled, that's how they've done it.
Yeah.
2013, 2014, they put us under a social contract.
Yeah.
That means that we're now under contract law, equity.
Yeah.
They now, in 2019, went to EU and went, right, we've got these dummies all bewildered in what we're doing. We put out the straw man myth. We put out this, that, and the other. We're no longer under law. We're now under UK statutory legislation, rules, and regulations. That's it.
Yeah.
And we've done away with the Bill of Rights completely. And we've done away with the Magna Charta.
Yeah. And again, they spell that incorrectly, don't they, as a twick,
Yeah,
don't they? They
yeah.
spell it, we
Well,
spell
they
it.
spell it ER. They
Yeah,
spell it
exactly.
with an ER. But this is the critique that they've done.
Yeah.
It's actually called the Great Charter of Liberty.
Yeah.
Right? So it is the ER, but it's actually, when you call it the Magna Charta, it's spelt with an A on the end. It doesn't have an ER on it.
Yeah.
Right? So when you put down the Magna Charta, they just laugh at you and go, there's no such document. Because now you've confused the two.
Yeah,
Because you either
exactly.
put the Great Charter of Liberty, 1215, or you put down the Magna Charta, 1215, the Great Charter of Liberty, as to my rights as an Englishman. They
Yeah.
don't like that. We've gone
No,
to court and they've gone, oh, don't start that nonsense. England, realm of England, there's no such place. What?
not to them.
It's in the constitutional books, mate. It's in all 54 volumes. It's called the Realm of England. I'm an
Yeah, yeah,
Englishman. You are a legal fiction piece of paper. Fuck off out of our courts.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Well, and
not here to address you. I'm here to address You corrupt legal fiction, because now you're pretending from being a clerk of the court to being a legal advisor. You are no longer a legal advisor because there's no such thing, because it's corporate.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because they're
absolutely.
the ones that's supposed to know the law and uphold it within the courts.
But it ain't no law no more.
No law in them. And
No.
we've just proved that today on this show. We've just proved it.
Yeah. And it's like what we were saying when, wasn't it earlier, this social contract, it's a no from me.
Right, if you pull up the last one, and it's a no from me, but Kelly, if you pull up the last one, the London Gazette,
Oh,
so I
right,
think
yeah.
that's where we need to end on the show, really. If that's
Okay,
all right with you guys.
bear with me. Let me just get that up. Let me just get there, right? 1 second. It's all very complex, this stuff. There we go. Ever
I
professional.
knew
Here
that
we
I knew that a document we were we were missing. Now this
can
was
you,
taken from the London Gazette,
yeah,
right? Now we'll put it up on your site again, and like I say, it goes on about the Queen's death. If you can scroll to the bottom, love that the bit that's important, right? So here we go. The Privy Council, the late Majesty's Privy Council, and representative of the realms and territories, but the realm of England doesn't exist. Aldermen and citizens of London, aldermen. What? But our ancient rights and customs don't exist because the alderman comes from where? The 1200s,
yeah, yeah,
right? Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. The Prince Charles,
yeah,
right? If I get back on it, right? Prince Charles, Philip Arthur George is now, by the death of our late sovereign of happy memories, become our only lawful and rightful liege Lord Charles.
yeah,
Now, hang on a minute. Shouldn't that say king?
yeah. It
So
should.
have a look what a liege lord is.
Yeah,
It's a man with people under his oath,
yeah,
right? So basically, that is what the affestation is, the affirmation. It's to take them out of the public service and put them into his service.
yeah,
Nothing more. So all Parliament, judges, MPs, councillors, police officers at every level are
yeah,
under him. The third, by the grace of God, United Kingdom and Great Britain, the corporations.
yeah,
Where does it say England? And his other realms and territories, king, head of, Commonwealth, defender of the faith, to whom we acknowledge all faith and obedience. No, we don't. Go up a bit, Cop. You need to go up a bit.
sorry, yeah.
Right? Faith's a bit. Humble affections. God by whom king and queens do reside in blessed. His majesty. He's not his majesty. Just told you he's not. He's the liege
Yeah,
lord. So he can't be a majesty. He's only a
yeah,
lord.
yeah.
There is no king. The public office of king and chief trustee is now available.
Yeah.
And he's no longer defending the faith of this country, is it?
He is certainly not.
So how can he be that? So he's not stated the Coronation Oath Act.
Yeah.
Not stated it. He's not signed it. He's not done it.
Which is why on the new pound notes he's not wearing a crown.
Well, it's not just that, but all courts of law have been removed and put into administrative courts. There
Yeah.
is no court under the king anymore. None.
Oh.
We rang up the Royal Courts of Justice and asked, are you under the king? No. Excuse me? Well, if you're not under the king, who are you under? Don't
Yeah.
answer.
Wow.
Because who is supposed to hold our sovereignty?
The king.
What
The
does
monarch.
it state in the laws? That the Queen has to keep the succession and surrender it to whoever as they found it, which means all laws and rights protected.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And we're not there anymore. So it has been a betrayal from 1960 onwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is no office of king anymore. There's no office of monarchy. The trademark of the crown is gone.
Yeah.
So the office of crown now has gone. Let's not forget. 1995. What happened? John Major literally dissolved the Crown Agents Act. What were Crown agents? The police officers, the judges. Tony Blair came in 97. What did he do? Dissolve it all. Got rid of it all. Transferred it, and it's all there. Look it up, guys. He transferred them all to the Corporation Companies Act, 1985. So he made them all companies.
Yeah.
So there are no Crown agents, there are no public officers, not one. It's all an illusion.
Exactly. I've said that for a long time.
But it's now such a corrupt illusion.
I was going to say it's real to them. I've been at full arm's length of that one.
We all have. But now what we've got to do is charge them with the Terrorism Act under 2006, Section 2. We put them all in misconduct in public office, Section 26.
Yeah.
This is our way out. So no. You claim you're in public office, you're taking public funds. That's fraud and deception. That's theft. That's a betrayal of your fiduciary duties. Now, I know people won't understand the fiduciary duties, but these are trust duties.
Yeah.
This is why they knocked them down to Nolan principles. Then they've called them principles in office.
Mm-hmm.
Honesty, service, sacrifice. It's nonsense. The fiduciary duties is a trust duty. They breached them all.
Yeah.
Parliament is no longer sovereign. It doesn't hold sovereignty. It cannot hold sovereignty. It cannot hold delegated power. It has only got the authority that we give it, which is limited.
Yeah.
Lord Kilmore stated it. They are mere servants.
Yeah.
To the crown and to the people. That's why the King of England can dissolve Parliament.
Yeah.
Charles I cannot.
Exactly.
Because he's the first head of state.
Head of state. Yes. Woo. Well, Terry.
Like I promised you guys.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean it's a lot of information for people to take in, but obviously I'll put your links below because you've got the new website, haven't you? The Realm of England. If people want to kind of sign up to that, it helps Mr. Blue do the work that he does. And as you can see, it takes a lot of time to piece this stuff together to make it as simple as possible for us guys, really, ultimately. And it is about, Adam being tossed from the garden, from being a creditor, and eating of the tree of knowledge instead of the tree of life, without getting too biblical. But biblical times we are in indeed, and it is kind of time to wear that armor of God. And as we said earlier, Terry, isn't it? It's a no from me, that's for sure.
And a no from me. It literally is. It is like that, not being awful, but it's the two Ronnie sketch. You know what I mean? When they say good night, it's a good night from him, and it's a good night from him. You know what I mean? And it is, but we've got to end on a sort of a funny note by two legends of comedy. But it seriously is. It is now, honestly, we've now got how they've done it, when they've started it, and the fact that they knew and have always known that this would be in 5 different acts of treason, subversion of our constitutional rights, subversion of the Separation of Powers Act, an abuse of the declaration of the Coronation Oath Act, which again is treason, and surrendering sovereignty to Europe on a financial basis. Lock, stock and barrel is not what we signed up for. No. We did not sign up for Parliament to become a tyrannical judicial foreign state system.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we're under. So when you go to court, you can never win. Ever. Because they just skip whichever law they want to and don't tell you. So how are you meant to bring a case together if all they do is they change the jurisdiction? So you write a document in law, but you stood under equity. So what you should do is ask for the contract. Show me the contract. Show me my proof of compelled performance under presumption of obligation. And then state, well, how did you get that? Because obviously now you've breached data protection, 1998, section 10, subsection 2. Remove all my data. Go away. You shouldn't have it. How are you passing my data? Not only are you passing it, but you're all getting paid for it. Your data is supposed to be absolutely secure. So, as they told you in that document, the police use it, the banks use it, the bailiffs use it, the MPs use it, Parliament uses it, the judiciary use it.
Yeah.
Why? Because they were all under the Crown Corporation.
Yeah. And that's it. It's to do with data again, isn't it, on the corporate servers. It's another form of asset stripping again.
Yeah, it's to get you and to make you pay.
World, yeah, exactly.
When they should be holding no data. They can't hold any data.
Yeah.
Because you are the data subject. You have to give your permission for them to hold your data.
Yeah, and they're all corporate entities, exactly.
And they have to have a contract or your consent, they have to have your consent. And this is what 1998's Data Protection Act does, section 10, section 2. We haven't got a contract, remove it. You don't have my consent. I'm telling you now, remove it. Put it all in, step by step. Send it off. I'm going to put a couple of bits in with yourself, Carly, on my new website, which when a bailiff comes, send them it. Now you've got them for breach of data protection. You've got them for now. They keep saying, oh, we don't need a warrant signed. Yeah, you do. The reason they can't sign a warrant is why? Because they're not in the correct jurisdiction.
Yeah, they can't take the liability.
No, because they don't have any liability. They don't have liability insurance.
Well, and the fictions.
The corporations.
Yeah.
So maxim of law states a legal fiction does not work loss or harm to the man. It is the man behind the legal fiction that works loss or harm to the man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It even says maxim in law, right? And this is a beauty. I use it all the time. Maxim of law, but you're not in law. You're under contract. You're under compelled performance.
Yeah.
Legislation and statutes are duty bound for the person.
Yep.
They are not for the man.
Nope.
There's loads of them. You know what I mean? But they ignore these maxims because you're not in law. You're under compelled performance through equity law under a society contract.
Yeah.
For the benefit of democracy.
Which again means mob rule. That's what democracy means when you break the words down.
Well, it's like anything else. This is what they're doing. I mean, we have a contract with all of them that predates this load of nonsense, which is your Bill of Rights, your Magna Charta, your Declaration, your Settlement Act, and loads more, right? Yeah. This is our rights. These are our contract with our servants, the public servants. And the reason you can get them, every single officer now in public office, is why? Because you can get them under misconduct in public office.
Yeah.
How do you get them? And how easy is it?
Misfeasance, malfeasance,
No, 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 no. It's easier than that. They're not in public office.
Well, no, the bar, aren't they?
So, well, they're under him, head of snake, head of state, or they're under the bar, which has no authority outside the inner city of London.
Yeah. Oh, they've spread it, haven't they? Allegedly.
They've spread the corporation.
Yeah.
Because the inner city of London is nothing more than a corporation. It's a banking cartel. It's the cabal.
Ludan.
Right? And that's what people have got to understand.
Yeah.
This is nothing more than a absolute fraud to steal everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we can sue the head of state, every police officer, every judge, because the one thing that they don't want you to know is this, and this is how simple it gets when we boil it down to the crux of it, right? And this is what we've got to understand. If you pull Lord Kilsmore letter up, just for the last 2 seconds. Because this is going to be, I think this is going to shock people just how easy it is to bring these down now, right? When you've got Lord Kilmore's letter there, get to that bit, Carla, because I can't see it, sweetheart, where it says the public servants. Or mere public servants.
I'm trying to find that bit.
I can't help because I can't see. Can't see the document.
It's quite long. I'm trying to find where it was.
I'll tell you what, go up a bit, Carl. Just go up a bit because you've missed it. There's another bit I can use. Right, stop there. Oh, down a bit, down. Right, stop. Right. So get to where it says its sovereignty's ours.
Yeah.
Keep going down. I think it's the next one down. Right. There you go. Right. The English Constitution confirms treaty-making powers only on the sovereign. The sovereign cannot transfer those powers to a foreign power, nor to our own parliament. So if they can't delegate those sovereign powers to parliament, how does parliament now claim it's sovereign? That's treason.
Yeah.
Right? It shows that they are not in public service. None of them.
Yeah.
Because they've taken something that doesn't belong to them. Sovereignty. They now claim that they have the sovereign power of the people. No, they haven't. Not a cat in hell's chance, because it says there, foreign power, nor even to our own parliament, because they are mere servants of the monarch. Sovereignty itself cannot be given away, as it resides with the people who entrust. So we've now put him as chief trustee of our sovereignty, right? Who entrust it to the monarch, his or her lifetime.
Yeah.
Who is obliged by law, this is why they've done it, this is why they've got rid of law, to pass that sovereignty onto their successors as it was received by trust.
Yeah.
We've entrusted our sovereignty to be able to call upon the monarch and say, right, enough's enough now. 3 millionaires voted and said, get rid of this parliament.
Yeah.
And the monarch's done nothing. And the reason the monarch's done nothing is why?
Because he's not serving the people anymore. He's the head of a corporation.
And he's not the monarch.
It's not the monarch, of course, yes.
He's the liege lord, nothing more.
Yeah.
And they're under his authority, because
Yeah.
he believes that he's got authority to delegate our power. What's at
Yeah.
stake there? He hasn't.
No.
And for
No.
him to do so would be treason,
Yeah.
right? States it, 5 different types of treason.
Yeah.
The vessel, king to Rome.
Okay, well, I don't think we can make that any clearer,
Any clearer. This is
hopefully.
why we, the people, now have to understand it is us,
Yeah.
not the billionaires, not the fake this, that, or the other, not the fake police. It is us that now declare, as to our constitutional rights, you are out.
Yeah.
You are now so repugnant to the Constitution, we have voided you and will hold you in error for all time
Yeah.
because of your treason.
Yeah.
And if that means 10 million of us meeting up and walking from town to town, city to city, and kicking these reprobates out of authority,
Yeah.
and then holding courts, lawful courts, for
Yeah.
their action of terrorism, treason, subversion, felony treason, and that word that you can't say and I can't say,
Enemy.
pretty manure, right? And they will be going nuts over our accents of it, right?
From a near.
And that's it. It's done in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Parliament has hidden everything from us.
Yeah.
The Crown has hidden everything from us. There is no Crown Corporation. There is no more public office of any description. It's all incorporated.
Yeah.
And we have been led like sheep to the slaughter for shearing and killing
Yeah.
into a realm of such deception. You might as well be living in hell itself.
And you are. If you think you're still the dead, if you still think that you're the dead fictioner, you've no clue. That is the game, I'm afraid. And people who follow my channel will know the deeper, darker occult meaning and nature of that. And that's what we're going to be focusing on moving forward. It's the answers are in the heavens, they're on the land, and they're in, the legal system, which has its ugly tentacles into everything. And like I say, we've got to turn things back for the people, like lawful. Go back to the law.
We've got to do, and it's the only thing now, Carla. The
Yeah.
Constitution. I mean, like a few of these constitutional people keep saying, the Constitution is the way to save us, but it's only the way to save us if the people stand up and state it as a fact. You
Yes.
now have lied in deceit, betrayal of the trust position that we have appointed you
Yeah.
to steal, to commit theft, extortion, because that's what extortion is.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to look at that is the 2011 Halsby's Book of Law.
Yeah.
Under the restraints of the Coronation Oath Act, no administrative court can be legitimised. None. Or it's extortion against the Crown,
Yeah.
against the people. Right?
Yeah.
What are those 3 key ingredients? Because it comes under the common law criminal act of uttering, which is high treason. By
Yeah.
issuing a false document, a false instrument, and declaring it's true.
Yeah.
So these courts are now in the criminal act of uttering by issuing that they are a court of law, not a court of commerce, under a fake contract that doesn't exist,
Yeah.
under a democracy that doesn't exist, under laws which are not laws, they're legislation, nothing more, from a parliament that is nothing more than an incorporated, indelegated, under the presumption of delegated powers. Well, we've just stated there, in law, you cannot delegate powers.
Yeah.
And just to prove it, you know that photograph that I sent you earlier of the head of the CPS?
Head of the. Oh yes. Do you want me to bring that up?
Yeah, yeah. Please, just for your audience, just so I can show them that what I'm telling you is the truth.
One sec.
While I wet my whistle with a cup with this lovely cup of coffee.
Let me try and just get that up. Um, there we go. People should be able to see that.
Once it comes up, we will. Right, here we go. Sorry, it's long ways, guys, for your thing. But you can see who this is. Right, this is the Director of Public Prosecutions. Right? Agent Executive. Okay? Minister responsible. So he's the guy that now believes he can delegate authority to this guy. He can. Right? If you can widen that up, love, so we can go to the top of this page. This come off the website, and it's there for you to all look at. If you go to the top there, right, where it says informed, 1st of October, I can't say that myself. Is it 1986?
Yeah. Formed 1st of October 1986. Type.
Type, non-material government department. So how on earth is the CPS an independent body who supposedly brings you to court, now a non-ministerial government department? So it's the government now fetching you to court that works for you. That's nothing more than a mere public servant, as Lord Kilmore stated. Jurisdiction, England and Wales. Headquarters, states there. Look it up. Employees, 5,700 and whatever. Annual budget, 59 million, 55, what is it, 592 million. But have you noticed this has only gone to 2012, 2013? Where's other budgets gone? We're now in what? 2025?
Allegedly.
Where's all rest of budgets gone?
Yeah.
Minister responsible. So it's now him that we sue, and him in their personal capacities.
Yeah.
Because they can't delegate power. He has no authority to bring anybody to court. Not one shred.
Yeah.
He's got no standing.
Yeah.
So why are we all listening to these corrupt officials for the corporation?
Hopefully for not much longer.
Well, hopefully this gets out now, Carly, and just sort of, shall we say, puts the cats amongst the pigeons.
Yeah.
Because what people have got to remember is, and I don't care, and this is not about being born an Englishman to me. It's what, if we're English together, right? It's not about separating this. That's their game, not mine. My game is you were born here, you belong here, you have a right here. But if we don't fight this together and come together and stop this nonsense of allowing them to separate us all, we lose. They win by separating, right? We all came together, First World War, Second World War, Falklands. We didn't care the colour of a man's skin or his religion who were fighting on the front lines, did we? As long as we won from tyranny, from threats of being in, the cult that we find ourselves in today.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to look to again. By joining forces to come together as one nation, one people, the Englishmen, and say, no, your game is up. Your con is out, and we are coming now for you. We're removing you. Because under that MIPO it states that once you state that, they're all suspended. Yeah. They're all suspended. So now we bring every officer within every district, every council employee under an MIPO. They can claim that they're public officials. Well, he who claims must prove.
Indeed.
Are you taking public funds in a fiat currency? Yeah, well, you're in breach then, aren't you? Because
Yeah.
that's a foreign state money.
Yeah.
And you're not in public office. Are
Yeah.
you incorporated in any way? Do you have a VAT number? Why won't council share the VAT number with you?
Yeah, they're hiding them now, aren't they?
Because what does it state on the VAT number? Company business.
Yeah.
Says it right there.
Well, it always has been, hasn't it, really, for those that have eyes to see, isn't it? And like we said, it's a numbers game. So it's important that people, do share this video. And if you want to come and support Mr. Blue in his work, I'll put his links down below and you can join the new site. That's all up there ready where all these documents, all these papers, they're all going to be in there and uploaded and to give that a plug as well. So do consider that. And obviously you can catch Mr. Blue, aka Terry, live at varying things as well. That'd be announced. And we will do some more of these videos as we ever do. But I think on that note, we shall leave people to hopefully digest that. And like I said, please do share it because it's obviously at this time in history extremely important. Yeah. Any final words, Terry? Not that I'm trying to kill
No,
you.
no, 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 no. I'm exhausted, to be fair, after all this. People don't realise how much effort this takes. And I don't think, and then to try and explain it in
Yeah,
such a way that it makes sense to people and it's
yeah,
easy to absorb.
yeah,
And the fact that they can go away and read these documents and go, hell's bells, this is what they've done. So now this is what we've got to fight for. And guys, we've got to protect our farmers. I don't care what anybody says.
yeah,
We've got to protect the farmers. They're trying to take our food, our liberty, and our rights.
yeah,
And it's as simple as that, guys.
yeah.
They're going to
It's
make they're going to make the UK their prison. England is England. UK is a corporation. It's a corporation prison. Simple as
yeah,
that. That's as easy as I can get it. So
yeah.
from me, it's good night.
And from him, it's good night.
Take
Thanks so
care, guys.
for watching. Thank you so much, Terry. I know, like I say, it takes a lot of energy, as I know, doing these kind of things without that kind of level of detail enough. So, thanks so much. Like I said, please do consider helping. Well, it's the realm of England, and I'll put the links below. Join the site. Hopefully, it really does make a difference to the work that Terry does. And we will certainly be back and please do share the video. Like I say, when we understand the legal fiction, when we understand the true nature of Great Britain, not we don't want to be British. We are the people of the covenant, which is why they're coming to enslave this land. And they have done, obviously, for without getting into the history of it. Go watch our other videos for that. But thanks so much again, Terry, and we will certainly see you all next time. Stay safe and God bless. Over and out.